Hey, this is Mr. Possible. It's the end of the day. I did finish my workout, had a whole bunch of other things to do. I did want to pick the topic of being a single father and what it was like. And I just want to help all the men out there to understand that it is possible. I became a single father when I went through my divorce 8 years ago, and I made a decision that I was going to be a single father. And at the time, I was very authoritative in how I did things. And the belief was I went to work, I provided the income, she stayed home and took care of the kids. And then when I came home, I laid down the law. If there was problems, I handled that. I kissed him goodnight, and that was the end of it. And what I realized is I was missing so much. And so when the divorce happened, I really wanted to take this opportunity to get closer to my children. And I decided that I needed to come up with a concept that was going to work for me. Putting the kids in front of the TV or, just basically using some other electronic babysitter just wouldn't work for me. So I actually started studying a lot and learned a mechanism called conscious discipline by Dr. Becky Bailey. And it was about expressing the feelings and talking to the children about how they felt, including them in things, and teaching them, substantial things about making positive choices, such as things like, do you want to go through the front door or do you want to go to the back door? Redirection, meditation, there was just a lot in there. And it was really, really, really difficult. In fact, I remember the first time I was alone with the kids, because again, the situation was she was always with the kids during the day. And, if I needed to go to the store at night, she could watch them. I mean, we're talking pretty little kids here. My son was 3 at the time and my daughter was 5. And I remember the first time that I had them alone, and it was just sheer panic set in. I tried to go to the bank. I had to have them in tow. A friend, a female friend, had promised me she would come over and help me. She never did. It was scary and very intimidating. And I got to tell you, I didn't think it was possible, but of course I did think it was possible. And I kept plugging through. I kept going with the plan of conscious discipline. So instead of making things last minute, I got up earlier, prepared them for daycare, or, took them to the library every day. And what I ended up finding, it's really interesting. And I think the world today is really broken when it comes to parents. I think that men in general have this handicap of relationships with their children. And what I mean by that is, I had a good relationship with my daughter and I had a good relationship with my son. I was the person who laid down the law, and, there was hugs and kisses, but I didn't have the closeness that my ex-wife had. I didn't have the moments of reading to them and special moments and getting down on their level. And I think from the men that I've met and talked to, that this is really missing in fathers out there. It's not the father's fault in particular. It's the way the world describes fathers and what they're responsible for. And I think it really puts them into a box. And I know myself, I was in a box. And when I came out of the box, it was amazing. And one of the first eye-opening moments that I experienced is when the daycare rode home and they sent letters, and the letters were from the children. And the letters said, thank you, Daddy, for the hugs and kisses and, reading with us and walking and doing all the things that you do. And that really hit home because I realized I hadn't done that stuff before. I hadn't taken them to the library and read and, sang them bedtime songs and fed them and, went through the day with them. And I really think to become a better father, every father should experience, that type of relationship with their children. I think it's really lost, and it's really sad that relationship isn't coming out with fathers. I think mothers definitely have a solid advantage there. And there's nothing saying that a father can't be nurturing, and it is possible. And I was able to do it through conscious discipline and repetitiveness and, changing my own behavior, changing my own attitude. And that was the key to being a good father, I think, is that you model the behavior you want your children to display. And it doesn't always work. I mean, my son is a case I can discuss in another video. It doesn't always work. I mean, I say anything is possible, and that's true. If you set your mind to it, you can accomplish something. But what it doesn't include is free will. You can't change someone else's free will. You can't modify their free will. So, I mean, when I say it's possible to do something that you directly control, that you can change. But it's not possible to modify someone's free will, and nor would I want to. So I think that journey to becoming a single father and going through it really taught me a lot. It taught me it was possible. My kids have taught me more about possibility than I ever thought, existed. If you can go through a 3-year-old and 5-year-old screaming insecurity and meditate through that and really not get fazed by it emotionally, you can go through anything. Poker is easy compared to raising 2 very small children. And I loved every minute of it. And I really hope that fathers out there get to experience that closeness, that relationship that mothers often are just thrown into, that they often, they have a lot of responsibilities. And I really encourage men out there to just take up some of those days, just say, hey, honey, you can have a day off and just spend the entire day with our children. Because I think that if you just get into the everyday stuff, the feeding, the cleaning up after, the playing with toys, the teaching them, to put the toys up, all of that stuff, and go about it from a very strategic mindset, I think, it is very, very enjoyable. And I loved every minute of it. And what I noticed was that when you did things with the kids, they would do things with you, and they would learn responsibilities. And it just, I just love the relationships that I have compared to what I did 8 years ago. And I just want to let you know, men, I know there's a lot of men out there going through divorce. I know there's a lot of men out there that are struggling and, potentially could be single fathers. And I think the biggest piece of advice that I would give is to focus on yourself. Much like, they tell you on an airplane, they say, put the mask on yourself before you put it on your children. You should absolutely focus on working on yourself. That's what I did with conscious discipline. Working on yourself, and then your child will model what it is you're doing. Hopefully. Again, they have free will, so they can make their own choices. But I don't think when I first started, single fatherhood that I was confident in it. But now I can tell you it's possible. I just kept at it and kept at it and kept at it. And I think that's true of most things that people think are impossible. Just keep at it, learn from your mistakes, improve, never make the same mistake. So guys, I hope that's shed a little light on the single parenthood that I went through. If you have any questions, please ask in the comments. Like, subscribe, and share this. Again, I'm Mr. Possible. This is new for me, so I'm not used to the video or any of those stuff. And again, I'm not editing anything. It's going to be real. And, as I go along, maybe I'll add backgrounds and stuff like that if anybody wants to help. But from this moment, this is brand new to me. So if I make mistakes, it is what it is. All right, guys. Well, once again, anything is possible if you set your mind to it. Have a good night.